So once you've decided to purchase a house, there's this meeting called a closing, and there are certain fees that you have to pay at that closing. So this meeting is basically you, whoever's buying the house, and your realtor or lawyer, however you're working that out, and the seller and their people. And then there's probably someone as a go-between that does all the paperwork and make sure that all the documents are legal and in order. So it could be a couple people at this meeting. It could be, half dozen. It just kind of depends on your situation. But it's called a closing. So there are these things called closing costs. Now, I've got a little table that I put together of just some, not necessarily all of them. And it doesn't even mean that at your closing, you'll have to do all of these. And I'll kind of point some of those out. So this is what I'm a little ahead of here. This kind of summarizes everything that I said. So the closing costs are just all the different things that you need to pay for your house to be legally purchased. So if you want to know specifically what these are, feel free to look them up on your own. That's not the point of this. Or if you're specifically interested in what any of them are, just shoot me an email and I can send you in the right direction. So you have to apply for the loan. There's a fee associated for that. And then all these different things. Some of them are straight dollar amounts. Some of them are a percentage of the money that you're trying to borrow. Okay, so for the problems that we do, these are the costs that we're going to use every single time. Okay, so instead of having to add these things on every single time, I thought it would be worth taking a second to kind of go ahead and lump them together now. It winds up being the flat dollar amount fees are $2,064, and then the percentage fees are 3.4% of the mortgage. So if you're trying to borrow $100,000, it's going to, I spelled that wrong, I'm trying to talk and write at the same time. It's like, let's say you borrow $100,000, you're going to have 3.4% of that $100,000 as fees. So it's just kind of the way it works. And again, some of these you may not have to do at closing, like inspections. I've paid for those up front as our house was being inspected. Attorney fees, I didn't hire an attorney when I did mine. I worked through the realtor. So some of these things are kind of negotiable, I guess. You don't necessarily have to have them. So what we're going to look at here is just a real quick example or two of what's happening. So the idea is a lot of banks will allow you to borrow the money for the closing costs and they will tack it onto your mortgage. So if you borrow $80,000 for your house, you're going to have the $80,000 loan plus the closing costs when you start paying it back. Okay, it winds up in the long run not being that much more per month for your payment, but anyway. So this is a little more complicated than what I'm asking you to do on your homework. So I'm going to try and get rid of some of the unimportant information. So these people are buying a house for $125,000. They're making a down payment. Okay, your homework is not doing that. Your homework is just, here's the dollar amount, figure out the closing costs and add it back on. So let's neglect that as well. Let's just say they're borrowing $125,000. So their closing costs are going to be the $2,064 plus 3.4% of the $125,000. Okay, that is all of these dollar amounts added together here, and then the 3.4%, I can go ahead and lump those together because it's of the same amount. So 3.4% of the $125,000. Sorry if me scratching that stuff out confused anybody, but I'm just trying to streamline it a little bit. So 3.4% of $125,000. So their closing costs are $6,314. Okay. Now their bank, their particular lender is letting them roll that into their mortgage. So that's going to get tacked on to the $125,000 that they're trying to borrow. So the actual amount of the mortgage is $131,314. Okay. Figure out the closing costs and add it back on. The closing costs are fixed at $2,064 and this 3.4%. All right. Another one, I'm going to do the same thing, kind of get rid of the things that aren't pertinent. We're not going to worry about a down payment. Maybe we can add that on tomorrow. So we got a $100,000 house. We're going to calculate the closing costs. So that again, that is $2,064 plus 3.4% of the 100,000. That's $5,464. So the amount that they're borrowing is the value of the house plus the closing costs. So 105,464. Okay, that's it. Your homework, straightforward. It's here's the dollar amount, calculate the closing costs, calculate the amount of the mortgage.